Hey, what's up, boxing fans? It's been a while since I've done a boxing video, but I've been watching. I've had this debate. I've seen it over and over on YouTube and boxing sites. I just watched Blood Boxing's video. The debate Holmes or Ali versus Tyson. Blood Boxing went into 4 or 5 different career stages. I'm just going to focus on prime versus prime, and by prime I simply mean at their best. Now Mike Tyson was a beast in his own right. The young Mike Tyson, the younger fans below 30, many will say Tyson's the greatest. They remember watching Tyson. Tyson got a lot of media exposure. A lot of his fights from early on were on television, and they were watching him fight pretty much club fighters, but he would always get the big vicious knockout and a legion of fans. He attracted a legion. As his quality of competition increased, his knockouts, the first round knockout, second, they decreased. The thing that Tyson always had trouble with, the type of fighter, was someone with a good jab that could box and also had a chin that could take his punch. Even before he ever lost to Buster Douglas, who exposed many Tyson flaws, he had trouble with guys like Tony Tucker. Guys with the jab and a good chin spelled trouble for Mike. And I don't think, when you talk about boxing skills, good jab and a chin, you need to go no further than Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes. Their jabs were different, Ali's and Holmes. Ali was more of a fleet-footed fighter. He moved a lot early in his career, and his jab, he could sit down on his jab and make it more powerful. But Ali would flick his jab to set up other things. He would use it as a defensive weapon. Holmes' jab was a piston, like a hammer. I've seen him knock people out with his jab, and it was a punishing jab. So while their jabs were different, they had 2 of the best jabs in the history of boxing. And the Larry Holmes that Mike Tyson knocked out was 38 years old. He was a shell of himself. He was nowhere near the late 70s or early 80s Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes in his prime had one of the best chins in history. I've seen Ernie Shavers, who many boxing fans, historians, boxers, managers, trainers say had the hardest punch ever. I seen him hit Larry Holmes with a shot that I never dreamed Larry would get up from. But he did. Ali's chin is legendary, and these guys could take it, and they could box. That's what separates them from other fighters. I think Mike Tyson, when you compare him to a Larry Holmes or Ali in the prime, Mike Tyson didn't have the mental toughness that Larry Holmes or Muhammad Ali had. I think that would be telling in a matchup with either of those guys, with them all in their prime. Mike Tyson, when he hit someone and they didn't fall, and he hit him again, they didn't fall, and after 2 or 3 rounds they were still there, you could see the panic set in. He would get disgusted, and that was evident against Holyfield, Buster Douglas, and later on in his career against other fighters, which I don't call that the prime Tyson. The prime Tyson, he was tough. He had real fast hands, great power, and he had everything except for the ability to adjust during a fight. That's what I think separated Holmes and Ali. As Ali got older and his speed declined, his energy declined, he was still able to devise other strategies and to stay, at the top of his game into his mid to late 30s, and he used the rope-a-dope. He started to punch harder, sit down on his punches because he couldn't dance 15 rounds, and jab and just out, physical people with his talent. And you seen him adjust. The same with Larry Holmes. You know, he could adjust during a fight. He can change his strategy. And that's something. And when faced with adversity, they always answered. You know, and that's where Tyson didn't. And many people I see saying Tyson could run through Holmes or Ali. Usually it's the younger people that never saw Holmes or Ali live, prime. They don't remember. And sometimes from watching an old grainy tape, you don't get the same feeling as you did watching it. And I just think Ali and Holmes would have been too much for Tyson. I could see Tyson maybe scoring an early knockdown against one or both of them. But once they were there, and the jab, I think by the mid rounds, it would be bad for Mike. And I admire Mike Tyson. I have him in my top 10 or 15 heavyweights of all time. But when you're comparing people from eras, it's tough anyway. But when you compare, you have to compare the level of competition they fought. And I think with Tyson, that's the thing. A lot of younger people, 35, 30 and under, they remember Tyson. And I remember, every week on ESPN it seemed like he was on, or CBS, knocking out someone in the first round. But you go back and look at all those fighters, and it was club fighters for the most part. And I just think as you've seen the competition increase, someone with a tough chin like a Holyfield, and I think Buster Douglas was just a perfect storm. I think that fight just came together. Buster Douglas, to me, fought the perfect fight that night. The fight you had to fight to beat Tyson, and the jab, just the constant jab, and Ali and Holmes, I think, would have jabbed Tyson, jabbed him to death, and so I mean that's my opinion. I think Holmes or Ali would have beat him, but with Tyson, he just didn't have the mental strength, fortitude to adjust. He cracked under pressure, and when his original plan, when he walked out there and he didn't see fear in his opponent's eye, so if you watch early Tyson fights, even like against Burbick and Michael Spinks, you could see the fear, man. They didn't. I mean, every fighter probably has a certain level of nervous energy. I don't know if you call it fear, but these guys were terrified. They didn't want to be in the ring, and that was a big part of what made Tyson great. Was the intimidation factor. You can't ignore that. But people like Holmes and Ali, or other fighters at the top of the game like Holyfield, they're not going to be intimidated. I mean, they're not going to. They're there. Ali and Holmes, they were not people to be intimidated, and I just think against people like that, all of Tyson's strengths would be nullified. And I just can't see Tyson ever beating Holmes or Ali. I know a lot of young guys will disagree. I've watched videos on YouTube, and I just think when you talk at their best, peak form, Holmes, Ali, I don't think there's ever been any better in the heavyweight division, in my opinion. Of course, you always got to have Marciano and Lewis, but Marciano he would probably be a light heavyweight, or at the most a cruiser these days. So, Joe Lewis, he was a master himself. But I got to watch Ali in his prime, Holmes in his prime, and Tyson in his prime. I've seen all three, and I don't think Tyson stacks up against those two. I mean, that's just my opinion. There's no way I could see him beating them in their prime. But I'm sure opinions are, like they say, everyone has one, so I respect everyone's opinion. But that's mine. I'll see you later. And good videos, guys, and it's good to talk boxing with fans who know the sport.